speaking of Apple, Tim Cook, one of the things, he did that interview a few days ago on that podcast with Kara Swisher. I think we've referenced it a couple of times here. Mm-hmm. Was that who it was with? I better at least get this right. New York Times interview. Actually, it doesn't say who the interviewer was, but I'm pretty sure that's who it was. Willie Doo's on it right now. Anyway, there's a lot of things discussed in there. And yeah, it must be 6 days ago. We referenced a few of them. I was right. It was Kara Swisher. I referenced a few of them, including some admiration for Elon Musk. But I actually didn't see this one, which was a suggestion from Tim Cook that rather than voting in person, I'm talking politics, voting for leadership, that rather than voting in an antiquated way in which people currently do, that you should just use iPhones to do that. So anyway, here's some of the dialogue from Tim Cook. I think we're probably all having a wrong conversation on voting rights. We should be talking about using technology, he said. How can we make it so simple that our voting participation gets to 100 or it gets really close to 100? Maybe we can get in the 90s or something. Now, some of the criticism, here you go. Though voting through smartphone could expand accessibility for some voters, cybersecurity experts speaking to CBS News last November listed a number of ways it could also disenfranchise other voters. Security issues, the cost of iPhones, internet access, and voter identification were all among the main reasons cited. So it's like a lot of new things, new technologies, early on. There's ways to poke holes in it. There's ways to say, okay, it'd be great if it was that simple. I wish that there was a world in which we could implement these things without any potential downside, but that's just not realistic. Those downsides exist, and you have to be very careful about the way that you implement these things. Because even in the past presidential election in the U.S., it was like, don't you remember all the disputes and things after the fact? Uh-huh. Can you imagine you got apps and phones involved? I know, yeah. And people are already skeptical to begin with of the process, the way it exists. And then they added those mail-in ballots and people freaked out about that. And then, so it is not a straight path towards figuring this out, but it does seem insane that we can do everything else on our phones or online, except for this one thing. This one thing.
Yeah.
And by opening up the mail-in, you're kind of a step closer, actually, because those people weren't physically present. Mm-hmm. And that was acceptable in the recent U.S. election. So anyway, it's obviously complex. It is not a straight path, but it's not a turnkey type of thing either.
Yeah.